Story: Doctor disguised himself as a beggar and went to his clinic. How they received him did. I don't know the protagonist, whom we'll call Ernesto. He was a man of great prestige, owner of specialized cardiology clinics, with offices spread throughout the country. He invented the first cardiopulmonary machine in 1951, a machine that was used in the first open-heart surgeries on a human being. After living a dignified and happy life, contributing positively to the world, he was diagnosed with a rare cardiovascular disease that cut off oxygen and vital nutrients. That's when he decided to spend his last days doing good and giving a better life to those deserving. Dr. Ernesto was always characterized by having a smile on his face and being very playful. True to his style, he decided to arrive at one of his main offices dressed as a homeless person. He asked to be checked immediately, but as he approached the emergency room, there was a nurse on duty who became very irritated as soon as she saw him arrive. Her indignation was directed at the guards who let a homeless person in and that the insurance wasn't obligated to cover a medical consultation. Not seeing any security nearby, she intimidated the elderly man and asked him to leave of his own accord. But he refused to leave, saying, "Miss, I feel very unwell, I'm short of breath, and I can't take it anymore. Please, I need to see a doctor." "Sir, have you looked at yourself in the mirror? Surely, you're a homeless man without a job or income, spending your time drinking alcohol every day and not doing anything to progress. This is a highly prestigious clinic, only the wealthiest men in the country come here to be treated with first-class machines, and the doctors are recognized worldwide. They would never dare attend to someone like you. I suggest you go to a state hospital." "That's for people like you," replied the nurse, heartlessly. Dr. Ernesto was very disappointed with the heartless nurse he had encountered in the emergency room. "Miss, if you don't understand, something bad might happen to me," he quickly responded. However, far from wanting to help, that terrible nurse replied, "If something bad happens to you, that's something very good for society. We don't want more men like you on the streets." Ernesto considered leaving, but he wanted to stay and see if his other employees would defend him. When the on-duty doctor, his good friend Rubem, attended to him, he thought everything would be different. But what he said depressed him even more. "What's going on here?" the nurse asked. He told her everything that had happened. And the on-duty doctor, looking at him disdainfully, said, "Do you think I studied so much my whole life to touch someone like you? Mediocre doctors are in state hospitals. Go and let one of them treat you." And, of course, a security guard was already by his side and had been alerted, arriving very quickly, escorting Dr. Ernesto. He was thrown, against his will, onto the street. Dr. Ernesto cried on the street, outside his clinic, for the evil he had witnessed. Still believing in the humanity of his employees, he went to another nearby unit in the city, located on one of the best main streets in the capital. As soon as he arrived, he tried to enter. He was quickly intercepted by security guards who had been alerted by the previous clinic he visited and had strict orders not to let in any homeless people. Furthermore, another nurse was there to keep him out. "I want to speak with Dr. Eugenio," said the elderly man. "How do you know him?" the surprised nurse asked. In an effort to avoid a scene, she called Dr. Eugenio, and when he came out, he looked offensively at the elderly man who pleaded to be examined because he felt very unwell. But he said, "Sir, go to the state hospital, and if they don't treat you there, it's better for you to go to the mountain and jump into the river, because I'm sure no doctor would dare to touch someone like you." Very saddened by what he had gone through so far, he tried to think of what he had done wrong for even his right hand to behave so poorly towards a simple old man asking for help. With this, he became very disillusioned with life. Having so much success and money, he had no one to share it all with, afraid that if he left it to the state or some organizations, when they found themselves in funds, they would commit all sorts of crimes. He preferred to give everything he had to someone he trusted because he had no children or relatives to share it with. Having dedicated his entire life working hard to contribute to science and humanity, recalling how it all started, he also remembered that his first clinic was 8 hours away from where he was now, already an old place that hadn't been renovated. Well, there were many people in that town. Nonetheless, he decided to travel, at least, to bid farewell to his great friend who was in charge. Maybe she even left everything to him, as he was the one she had the most affinity with. As soon as he arrived, he entered the place and approached his friend. As soon as he heard, he leaped from his chair, shouting, "How did you get into this place, you old and disgusting man? Get out of here again, disgusting." Ernesto couldn't understand what was happening, so he responded, "Please don't rush me, I feel very unwell, my hands hurt, my legs, I can't feel them anymore, and they're trembling like jelly, my heart is racing, I even feel like oxygen isn't reaching my lungs properly, if you don't listen to me, I will die, you must have a good heart, you're not wrong." "Look, friend, you're a beggar, no one will take you seriously. So, I'll tell you, that damn old man, owner of many clinic chains across the country, will give everything away when he dies because he has no family, he's unhappy. He's an old man, and I'm a bastard who only cares about money. He's a citizen, if he's playing with me, then get out, get your filthy backside out of here, or I'll make you leave this world faster." Ernesto couldn't believe it, his tears covered his entire face, and he fell to his knees on the street. He had lived deceived his whole life, but in that moment, the nurse appeared. He said, looking into his eyes, "Excuse me, are you okay, sir? Come with me, I'll examine you." And he told him he was fine. He couldn't believe someone would take pity on him. "Why are you helping me?" he asked. "If my boss sees me, he'll fire me, but I dream of being a good doctor someday, and a good doctor does the right thing and saves lives, even if I don't get anything in return." Dr. Ernesto was fascinated by what he had heard until he asked, "So are you studying medicine besides being a nurse?" "My name is Ricardo, I'm not studying medicine, I don't have money for that. I just finished nursing school and received a scholarship, which allowed me to study, but I dream of saving and becoming a doctor someday, even though it'll take a long time." Ricardo told Ernesto to come back the next evening because he would be alone and could attend to him with the proper machines, as he felt his breathing wasn't getting enough oxygen to his lungs. Ricardo gave the homeless elderly man a hug and bid farewell. Well, they were calling him, but not before saying one last time, "I'll wait for you tomorrow." Dr. Ernesto went home shocked by what had happened, called all the responsible doctors, and said there would be an urgent meeting of the entire team at his country house, because it was huge there, and everyone could fit in. It was also to give his final word and decree his heir. All the doctors and nurses arrived at the location, all waiting for the most important announcement of their doctors' lives, rubbing their hands, thinking they would be chosen. But when the arrival of the duo was announced, Ernesto put on that dirty old man who had been begging for a health examination. He removed the wig, took off the fake mustaches and beard, and also, with a bit of water, washed his face and said, "You all knew, I was the homeless man who visited you. I did this to find my heir. And many of you disappointed me. The security guards have the names of the people who failed me. I want them located and removed from this place because my clinics are for everyone who needs them, not just for those who can pay. Our profession is to save lives." At that moment, cries and moans were heard from most of the doctors who mistreated the elderly man. Dr. Ernesto announced that his heir was Ricardo, the only one who had helped. He would be responsible for everything. Finally, he transferred the entire inheritance to Ricardo, who managed to even pay for a medical degree at the best universities, masters, and doctorates with the best doctors he himself selected. Ricardo couldn't believe what was happening, and he cried a lot because his life had changed. He was a single father and had worked very hard to take care of his son. He studied nursing because his dream was to one day become a doctor and at the same time set an example of self-improvement for his little one. Ricardo moved into Dr. Ernesto's grand mansion and treated him as his father or grandfather until the end of his days. Leave your comment, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Until the next video, folks.